Try to see it my way. Do I have to keep on talking till I can go on? While you see it your way, run the risk of knowing that
Hi! How's it going? I'm going to talk about writing. Specifically, I want to focus on a kind of writing that I'm going to call reflective writing, or sometimes called writing to learn. What that means is we're going to talk a lot about how you can use writing as a tool to learn with. Crazy, huh? So what we're going to talk about are some different ways of thinking about how you produce your own best writing. I want you to think about writing as having three parts. The process that you go through to make something with words. Now we're going to define writing broadly, first of all, as anything that you do that isn't talking that makes meaning with words. That includes posting something on Facebook. That includes Twitter, for example. It includes electronic writing or typing. I don't want you to think of writing as just a pen or pencil on paper, because that's not how most adults think of it, I think. When you're typing an email, you're writing. I want you to try to think of it that way, because I think you need to see the relationship between putting words together on a screen and putting words together on paper. Because even though we use our fingers differently, we're using our brain in a lot of the same ways. And that's what we're after. Okay, so three parts of the writing process: composing, revising, and publishing or sharing. You compose or put together the words. That has to come from somewhere. It can come from your ideas, it can come from what you've read, whatever. That process we're going to call composing. Okay. The next step is when we try to make it better. I know that we don't want to talk about revising, because you guys don't like to think of it as doing things twice. But if you write something and you want to make it good, there's a good chance they're going to read it and fix anything that isn't good. Whether that's adding punctuation, whether that's moving sentences around. But that is another step. And the better you are at that, the better your writing will be. And the third step is publishing or sharing. At some point, hopefully, what you write is read by other people or read by you. That we're going to call publishing. Whether you write a book and become a famous writer or not, what you share with other people can be considered a kind of publishing. And the decision to share affects what we write. It's a confusing thing to think about, but the way that you plan to talk or plan to write what you're writing is affected by who you think is going to read it. If you know that no one but you is going to read it, you'll write differently than if you think I'm going to read it. So we're going to focus on a couple of different ways of thinking about how you can write your best. What these things do to your writing when you want it to be good, or when you want it to be done, or whatever. Because I think that understanding the factors that affect your writing makes you a better writer. And what I'm after is you can be strategic about these things. That you can plan your writing knowing yourself as a writer so that you can do your best in the least amount of time. Or in the most amount of time, depending on what you want. So I'm going to run through 8 things quickly that I think you should think about as a writer and how they affect your writing. So here are some things that I think can affect your writing. Number 1, how are you getting the words down? Are you writing it on paper with a pencil? Or are you writing it with a pen? Do you write differently with a pen or pencil? I'm going to call that tools. Okay? Does the kind of paper matter? Obviously, we think that writing it on a keyboard or writing it on paper matters. But in what way? How does that change what we say? Okay? And it's different for different people. You have to think about your process. Okay? Another thing is the conditions under which we write. Do we write better in the dark? Do we write better when it's really bright out? Do we write better in the day or the night? When we're tired, or about to go to sleep, or before we get up and do anything? Or in the middle of the day? Okay? Do we write better when there's music? Or when it's silent? Or when people are talking? Or when the TV's on? What are the ideal conditions for us? Or how do these different conditions affect our writing? Okay, that's number 2. Number 3, how do we use time when we write? How do we use different writing sessions? What difference does it make in our writing if we write a little bit, come back to it again the next day, and come back to it again the third day, and so on? What effect does that have on what we're writing? Okay, what if it's something shorter and we keep revising it, but we do it all in one sitting? Okay? What kind of writing do we make when we sit down and try to do it all in one night? And what kind of writing do we make when we try to do it all in one night and then look at it again in the morning? Like what does this kind of time have to do with the final product? Okay? Another one is talk. We're on number 4 now. Talk. Talking isn't quite the same thing as writing, but can we use talk to improve our writing? Can we use talk to help plan our writing? If you tell your mom what you're planning to write before you write it, does it change what you write? Is it better? Is it worse? Does your mom tell you stuff that makes you mad, so you write better because you're mad? Or does talking to your little brother about it make you understand it better, so you write better about it? Whatever. How does talk affect your writing? That's number 4. Okay, number 5, speed. What's the fastest way for you to write a lot of words? What's the slowest way? And is there a time when you want to write it slow? And is there a time when you want to write it fast? And is there a time when you want to use both? Sometimes it makes sense to type it, print it, and then write on it with a pen or pencil. Is that a process that you've tried? Is that a process that you think would affect your writing? Number 6, what's your best thing to write about? Do you write the best when you're writing about yourself? Do you write the best when you're making up stories? Do you write the best when you're trying to write a poem? Or a rap? Or a joke? What are some of the things that you write the best? And what are you best at writing about? Number 7, we said that we want you to be able to come back and look at what you're writing to make it better, because that's a big advantage of writing over talking, as you can go back and fix it. How do you do that the best? Do you like to make a rough draft and then take a break and revise? Do you hate it? Maybe you think it's doing the same thing over again? But why? Maybe you're not sure about how to do revision if you think you're just going to have to do it over again. Maybe if you do it on a computer, it's not revising, or it's not the same kind of revising. Is it easier to revise on a computer? And number 8, pictures and graphics, something we don't talk a lot about when we talk a lot about writing, but I think a lot of us want to be able to use pictures when we write stories, or we want to be able to use pictures to help us think about what we're writing about. And we're talking a lot about learning. Well, can we write about a picture and understand it and write better because we can see it better? What pictures have to do with our writing, basically, is what I'm saying. If you write a comic, or draw a comic, I think is the word we usually use for comics, then how do the pictures change what we write? Is it good? If we have to write an argument about something, will it help us if we put pictures in it? Will it make the words better? Will it make our argument more effective? What effect would it have? So that was 8 things. And that was kind of a messy list. But these are the ways for us to think about our own writing and making it better. And I want us to think of it as not just one answer, because you're not always going to write the same thing for the rest of your life. And I don't want us to think about it as a right answer for everybody, because I don't think that's the case, because we're all different kinds of writers with different talents and different things that we're not as good at, and we need to be able to use what we've got. So what are the best answers for you for whatever it is you're trying to write? Okay, so the focus on this is really, what can you learn about these questions or these factors or variables in your writing, and how can you use them strategically to produce the best product you can? That's our goal, is how can we use all this stuff? How can we plan to use all of these things? How can we discover more about ourselves as learners and writers so that we can be the best we can be? Thanks very much. Peace.